I'm literally like 3 glasses of wine in. So cheers, dude.
Aren't you a Pamplonican?
So actually,
drinking wine on a Saturday.
Hey,
what
man,
the hell?
You know, you got to live, dude.
I mean, I was as well.
Yeah.
With a few other things, but nonetheless.
Yeah. Let me pour this little glass here, dude.
I can hear it pouring. that has an aerator. It sounded like it. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Yep.
And actually, this might be kind of fun. So the people listening into us right now get a sense of what I'm drinking. This bottle is actually Sangre de Toro, which in Spanish translation over to English means bull's blood.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah, man. It tastes better than awesome. You think.
I believe it.
This one's 2016. It's Tempranillo. Folks on the podcast, if you're not really familiar with that, the reason, like, you'll see this a lot, Tempranillo on bottles of wine, and really what that is it's just the grape variety they use to make it. It ripens like several weeks before your average grapes do. It's like this blackish grape, sort of hard-skinned out layer.
Okay.
So yeah, Spanish word for early is temprano, over to Tempranillo, and that's the jazz, bro. Dude, I want to know what you're drinking.
Well, currently, cognac don chocolat. Is that the proper pronunciation?
It's very good, man. It's very good. It's, man, it makes you miss Pamplona and the running of the bulls all over again, dude. It's, we literally drank that every day, right?
You and I specifically, it was after the Muras, so the last day. Oh, is that the proper pronunciation, Muras?
Yeah, you're good.
Or is it Miura? Okay,
yeah,
I've heard 2 pronunciations. So the Muras. And you were wearing the white blazer with the American flag collared underneath. And I remember because I was like, what a ridiculous outfit.
Dude, I had to represent the good old US of A, man. And next year, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I still have it in my closet.
Boy, am I foolish. Mike Carey, is that the guy? Before Joe Disler, there was a big American runner.
Oh, yeah.
And he wore the American flag very, very prominently.
Mr. Matt Carney, man.
Carney, there you go. Mac Carney. Yeah, but I literally, as I was looking, I was like, all right, similar to, but
Dude,
a little different.
Definitely inspired by him, man. He had this awesome, basically like a white sweatshirt with USA across the front.
Yep. I've seen only the painting.
Yeah, it's glorious, man. And actually, I think your uncle had a replica that he lent to Bill Hillman to run. If not this year, maybe last year.
Really?
Yeah.
If it was in his place, I didn't see it.
Dude,
but perhaps Bill Hillman has, and boy. And I feel foolish. I didn't know Bill Hillman before I joined y'all. And then my brother, he was like, hey, this is a guy you should probably learn about.
this cat's been to a few encierros.
Yeah. A few is a very modest term. But yeah, he was like, you should probably learn about Bill. And so like I quickly standing on the corner where there was free Wi-Fi. I was like, all right, Google in. I was like, oh, yeah, I got it.
It was amazing. I think last summer he had committed to running like 101 encierros or bull runs.
I think last summer as well, I think it was over 200 he ended up running. I don't know what his commitment was.
I mean, absolutely amazing. I mean, that guy, and he's like 35. Bill, if I messed the age up, sorry.
I'm not sure his age. I know he's from Chicago. That's about all.
Oh, man. Well, dude,
And Hemingway is what inspired him.
Yeah. I mean, The Sun Also Rises and all the different literary works, and dude.
Yeah. The Dangerous Summer. What's
Death in the Afternoon.
Death in the Afternoon. That was the one that I'm thinking of. Death in the Afternoon.
It's unreal, dude. And dude, I just for good manners' sake, I gotta give you a quick little intro, Mr. George.
All right, please do.
So joining the podcast is Mr. Bobby George. Yes, he has 2 first names, and might be the most badass name you ever heard. You
can't trust 2 first names.
Yeah, he is a senior at Hampden-Sydney College, foreign affairs major, Guy's been a National Guardsman since like 2014, 2015. Recipient,
correct. 2014, yeah.
Recipient of the Army Achievement Medal, which I gotta know what that means, but
that doesn't mean much, but sure.
You're just an all-around awesome dude, and thanks for making time, dude. And maybe we should start with that. And with all due respect, what the hell is the Army Achievement Medal?
It means you're in the Army and you maybe did well on something else. I put it on my resume because, and that's what I sent you and where you read my thing from. It means you did okay. I wish I could say more, but honestly, it's not too much. So if we're bragging about me,
yeah.
So in terms of the college, I'm the chairman of the student court. We have the longest American-run student court justice system. We were the last college founded under British rule. I'm the chairman of that court. And then I'm also the president of the Union Philanthropic Literary Society, which is the oldest literary society in the United States, and it outdates the presidency of the United States of America. I'd say those are my two brags.
Well, I think it's we can wrap up the podcast. You pretty much delivered a nice little punch there. That was good.
No. All right. So are we going to criticize? Are we going to talk about the podcast? Because I do have one criticism.
What's up?
So on Facebook, you put a little intro and you said, "And bull runner Bobby George."
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a bull runner.
You know, I
consider you a bull runner. Would you say?
Dude, come on, this past year was my first year ever running.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, my first.
I knew your first year at Pamplona was 2004, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
But I knew you didn't run till later because we were making fun of Reed, saying like, "Yeah, you got to run, you got to run, you got to run." but I guess hell, this is weird for me. I've never been on a podcast, but for the listeners, Reed is my brother. He's been now twice, so 2 times as much as me, and he's never run. And you never ran until 2012, is that correct?
I never ran until this year. I did all 8 days.
This was your first year.
Dude, first year, man. But I was like, I'm doing all 8 days. Not many people know that. Most people think it's like a 1 day a year, but it's, as you know, it's 8 straight days.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
I was like, I'm fucking doing it, man. I'm doing all 8 days. And
I didn't know this was your first year.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a suburb of Bilbao, which is like a couple hours driving away from Pamplona. I have lots of family in Pamplona. It's kind of how my family split. So I've been around that culture and that fiesta a lot, but it's always been a dream to run, and I just never made the call to do it until this year. But dude, for all intents and purposes, man.
Under what brought you to America?
Well, so I was born and raised here in the U.S., but since my parents are basically from the Basque Country, when I was like 10 years old, we just decided, look, we want to change up in our lives. We want to be a little closer to our family, because most of our family was still back in the old country. So we decided it would be something different, and we can try out the lifestyle. And from when I was like 10 to about 12, I lived there, went to school. And when I was about 12 or so is when we came back.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But dude, look, man, for all intents and purposes, you're a bull runner, man. And look, I think if you were to tell or ask anyone, can you be a perfect bull runner in your first year, even your first 5 years, even your first 10 years, I think most people would laugh at you, dude. I see great runners. I saw great runners this past summer have terrible runs or just have terrible luck. It's just a process, man. It's a process, and it's, I heard someone tell me at one point, that's why we have 8 days of this each summer. So if you have a bad run, you have a bad day, you can make up for it the next one. So,
but I still feel like it's an earned title. Like Jose and Antonio has earned it.
Oh man, you want to talk about
Peter Milligan has earned it. I read his book. I read a lot of books, but his stuck out to me, and I was like, yeah, this is what bull running is about. And he has a chapter all about what is the perfect bull run, or perhaps the chapter is not specifically about, but nonetheless it entails what's the perfect bull run. And truthfully, I mean, I ran twice, and I don't think I ever got to that. So maybe I'm a guy that has run with bulls. I don't think I'm a guy that is a bull runner.
Well, let me ask you
one day, hopefully.
Are you going to go back?
I want to.
Oh, there you go.
I'm a senior in college, so right now I'm figuring out what's the rest of my life going to be. I certainly want to. And Reed, he's a teacher, so he has summers available, and he's been saying, hey, come join me. I'm like, Reed, I want to. Boy, do I want to. But I got to figure things out.
We were talking about it, man. I'm curious, dude, because I don't know if we had this conversation over the summer. Just not to dwell on it too much, but your uncle, man, Tom Gowan, dude, he, at least in my eyes and many people's eyes, is a legendary bull runner. Guy has been running, going to Fiesta since like the 1970s. I can't tell you how many times I've seen his image in print, newspapers, and he's a big reason. I feel that a lot of new American runners have kind of come on the scene, I guess you could say. But dude, when did you first get exposed to the whole festival, and what was that like to have your uncle as like a legend?
To be honest, and I mean, how you and I remember this, we were hanging out outside of Bar Choco, and he had the no photo shirt on, and you told me like what, and you asked a similar question, but to be totally straightforward, I didn't know. Of course, like I'd heard, hey, there's people that run with bulls in streets, and that was it. I didn't know that like my uncle was a part of it until Reed, and this was last year, and Reed was deployed. He was like, hey, I went last year, you're deployed now, do you want to join along? I was like, yeah, what's the deal? And he told me all about, and I saw like, wow, there's a family connection. Uncle Tom was truly, to his shirt's credit, he was truly modest. And he's not all about the commercialism. Mm-hmm. So, to be honest, although I may disagree in that regard, I am going to respect his wishes of not being too commercialistic. I didn't know that he was semi-famous. I didn't know that he was known. I truly had no idea. And Reed, my brother, told me, he said, you show up to Pamplona, and because I showed up before him, and he said, you just walk around and you say, Tom Gowan, do you know him? Oh, erase that last name. He's against that. But nonetheless, he said, hey, say Tom.
Right.
I was like, okay, got it. Like, Reed, I'll do so. And, I was ignoring Reed. And then sure enough, I show up and I go, hi, mi tío Tom. Is that the
That was good, which means my Spanish. Uncle Tom, yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah. Cool. I studied the classics when I was in college, or I'm still in college, but so I think of Greek and Latin. That's about it. I'm getting another call, but it's all right. So, can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're good. So you basically went around saying,
I just wanted to make sure, like, yeah, and I kid you not, the first time I said that, somebody said, oh yeah, we know where to direct you. And they literally brought me to Bar Choco, and they said, all right, here's the door. He'll help you out.
Isn't that amazing though, man? How a foreigner,
it was wild,
dude. A foreigner has that kind of clout,
but yeah. I spoke none of the language, none of it, and all I knew was my brother has been here, and apparently my great uncle has been here too, because he never told the family, at least to me. Of course, I'm sure he told his brother. I'm told he told my mother, but me as the great nephew, he never told me. So I was like,
so that for me is like kind of a shock or kind of a surprise, because in my head, just sort of subconsciously, I'm thinking, man, this kid probably grew up with all these awesome stories of his uncle running with animals. Dude.
Personally, not one.
Dude, so that right there is really a tip of the hat, dude, to his character and just who the guy is, man. Just
he's all about the no photos, and I said, like, because, you know, like, as a newcomer, I was careful with my words, but nonetheless, like, I was curious. So, you know, I was careful, but also specific with my words. And I said, well, what do you have against? And he said, like, I don't like commercialism. Pamplona is amazing, but it remains a secret. And I was like, all right. I kind of get that.
Trying to basically kind of like appreciate the festival and not sell it, basically, right?
I mean, I don't want to put words into his mouth, but if I had to sum up, I'd say that's kind of fair. But he won't listen to this, but he's against all commercialism of it. And he was kind of specific to me. And that's why I wanted to add in that whole thing of, I'm not a bull runner. You know, you perhaps you run with the ball, perhaps you throw a football. It doesn't make you a football player.
And I think that's when you mentioned, you know, look, you ran for the first time this year and you didn't have fantastic runs. I wouldn't say that's a reason for not being a bull runner. I truly think being a bull runner is a process, man. And I don't know when you finish that process, dude. I'll be honest. I think, you know, God rest his soul, Ewan Medina.
I've never met him, but I've heard the legends.
One of the greatest.
And Reed met him.
Ever.
I've heard.
And this guy, you know, you know, I had heard him say at one point, you know, that he appreciates each and every run he's had. There were ones that were much more special than others, but even a guy like Ewan would admit that he didn't have a majestic run every day, and it's a process, man, and that's what's so great about it, dude, and that's why I love the camaraderie. When you finish a run, it's not so much like, dude, here's how my run went, or I was on the horns, or this or that. It's, let me buy you a drink, dude. Let's chat about how your day went, how your morning went.
That is unbelievably true.
I've never seen anything like it, man.
And that is so true. I remember, like, and of course, like I told you, I didn't have any great runs, but I saw Peter Milligan and Ari, and I was like, all right, I know they don't drink. I've read the book. I know they don't drink, but I thought to myself, like,
love those guys.
They are fantastic.
Oh,
and
man. Family.
Also, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I just said family.
Yeah, dude, I read Peter's book before I showed up, so I already knew in the back of my head, like, exactly what Pamplona was about, because he writes specifically about Pamplona in Bowls Before Breakfast, and so I was like, all right, this is a guy I need to meet, yada yada yada. And right after the Muras, my second time running, I was like, all right, I need to go say hello again. I've said hello through many times of the week, and, you know, rightfully so. The other times, Peter, like, yeah, good to see you. Rightfully so. I mean, he's run so many times. But after that, and we were at Bar Choco, and I said, hey, I'm happy to see that you're safe. And he and Ari both shook my hands, and they said, we are too.
That's awesome.
I said, like, yeah. And that moment, I was like, wow. I came here for everything he wrote in his book, everything about the community, everything about the family of the people that have run through those streets. And I haven't made it far, but just the fact that 8 a.m. I was standing, being scared as well, and the fact that they looked at me as equals, the fact that they said, like, all right, first time runner, second time runner, 30-year runner. we're gonna shake your hand and say hello. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I never got the sense that anyone there, even the guys like Bill, Peter, and Ari, who've been going for years, Jack, everyone, I never got the sense that they felt they were better than like a first-time runner or a first-time visitor to Fiesta. And even in Peter's book, you should know, I'm sure you remember this, he talks about...
I read the whole thing.
He talks about the first time he met Joe Disler and how he sort of
that.
like sheepishly said hello, and just that whole interaction of seeing like Joe for the first time. And he's just, you read that book and you just get the sense of someone who's down to earth and real and just personable. And dude, it's just amazing, right?
Dude, honestly, so the first time I met now Joe Disler. So I had read, and Reed required this. Like I told him, like, hey, I bought a ticket. I'm ready. He said, okay, you need to read this. You need to read that. You need to watch this and read this. And he gave me a full set. So I kind of knew Pamplona history. So I knew Dr. Disler. And I kid you not, 40 minutes from when I arrived in Pamplona, I was walking into, and this was complete chance. I was in Bar Choco, which we've already referenced before, but I was in there and I saw Joe Disler, and I said, because I had no other way to reference him. I knew he was a professor, and I knew that he was the guy. So I said, Dr. Disler, good to see you. I'm Bobby George. It's my first time. Good to meet you. And he was getting his drink, so he said, all right, good to see you. And I was like, all right, that's all you see of a celebrity. And then sure enough, the moment he got his drink, he walked outside and he called me over. He pointed one finger towards me and began to wiggle it. And I was like, hey, Dr. Disler. He said, call me Joe. My name's Joe. And I was like, oh, all right. Hey, Joe, how's life? He said, do you plan to run? I said, I want to. and then we went on to a conversation, but I said, I want to run. And it's unbelievable that a guy that has run for, 30 plus years?
Oh, dude, more than that. I mean, dude, he was still running this year.
Is it 40 plus?
It's got to be like, dude, 45 to 50. I'm not exaggerating. I think it's
I thought it was
like
30 plus, but of course I watched and read. But that's something that really impressed me. I mean, I was already totally intoxicated by Pamplona, but what really was amazing is the modesty of Pamplona.
That's a good way to describe it. Modesty. That's absolutely.
It's unbelievable. Like, guys that should be known worldwide, they hide themselves.
Why?
And they're like, it doesn't matter.
So why do you think that is?
Perhaps because it's special. Perhaps they say it's too special to expose to the greater. I really don't, and I'm not qualified to give a good answer. I've ran a few times, and that's that. Like, I'm not qualified to give a good answer of why.
Well, the reason I ask you, man, is because, I look at you as being a member of the US National Guard, and I think it's, in any type of branch, the military or whatever it is, dude, I feel like you have total ground to brag and to boast, but you don't always see it. So for you being a U.S. National Guardsman and not always boasting or bragging about being in it, maybe that's sort of comparable to somebody being known or being some sort of a figure in Pamplona, but not letting it get to their head. I don't know if that's a fair comparison, but I don't know.
It's an odd comparison. I'll say that. It's an odd comparison.
Well, dude, like, let's be honest, man. You as a U.S. National Guardsman, you could be called to active duty tomorrow.
Yep, and that's happened. But, these things, they go about.
I don't know, man. I just feel like, doing a service to your country like that and sort of putting your life on the line, being ready to go at the, signature of a pen, dude, it's that can't be easy, and it's not like you go around bragging about it. I didn't even know you were a U.S. Guardsman until we got back to the U.S., dude. I don't think you said a word about it.
I mean, jeez Louise. Yeah, I try to, I mean, hell, you've met Reed, my brother.
Yeah.
And you've met my uncle. I come from a family that's pretty strong military active duty. I'm a National Guardsman. I'm trying to think of the right wording here. Yeah, it's something I've done and I've enjoyed and I'm still in. And it's, if called upon, I'll do what is asked of me. Other than that, I'm very happy with where I am, and I'm very happy that I get the chance to go to Spain and the like.
I think we're blessed, man. I think we're super blessed. I certainly feel that way about the circle of friends we have now in Pamplona. And honestly, the biggest comparison, for sure, the biggest comparison I can see is like, dude, so between you and that crowd in Pamplona, it's integrity, man. Like, and
yeah,
right? It's this natural integrity that these guys have, and it's just, I don't know.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, how they all ended up in Pamplona, these awesome people. Man, it just beats me, man.
Dude, yeah. So I mean, I went to my college. It's all male. It's weird. We had this talk earlier. Because, it's a little weird, and I wanted something weird, but Pamplona is an odd collection of people. But what's weird? So Reed, and he's active duty military, and he would just be like, yeah, meet this guy, meet this girl, whatever, and we connected because we had similar ideas, similar ideals, and because we were military. There's a weird connection of the American people there. Of Americans, Pamplona, and the military, and people that have similar ideas. Mm-hmm. There were so many fantastic people I met that the connection I had and where I made that friendship was that of military. And it's really neat. And you know what? I went back. I had read The Sun Also Rises, and I read it a few times before Reed bothered me, as I mentioned. but I read it. I read it for class. I read it for fun. Yada yada yada. And I read it, and I saw like this isn't uncommon. And there's a weird connection between the United States military and Pamplona with military. Mm-hmm. And I've always found that as interesting.
And when you actually decided to go to Pamplona, you were actually stationed out in Qatar, right?
At the time I was in, I guess at the time I was in Qatar.
Is that how it's pronounced? My bad. It's Qatar?
Qatar. Yeah. So you're fine. Yeah. Most people.
I'll just blame it on the wine.
But yeah, I was in Qatar, and do you want me to go into the story?
Yeah. I'm curious, dude, because like it sounds like you didn't really make that final go no go until you talked to Reed from Qatar.
Yeah. So I was hanging out in Qatar. It was 7 months in, and Reed, my brother, he'd been to Pamplona the summer before. So he said, all right, Bobby, hey, I've been with this place. Have you heard of the Running of the Bulls? He's pretty vague. I was like, yeah, I've heard of it. And then he said, Uncle Tom has a place in that very bull run. I said, yeah, I didn't know that, but that's neat. And then he said, he runs with the Bulls. And I said, oh, that's neat. And so then eventually, keyword by keyword, and of course it was email by email, he was like, well, why don't you run the Bulls with me? Mm-hmm. And by running with the Bulls with him, he meant, why don't you come to Pamplona? And so honestly, and I hate to say it was kind of out of boredom. Initially, it was out of boredom. I was like, I'm hanging out here. July, sure, I'm free. So I bought a ticket. I found a cheap ticket, and I said, all right, I'm there. And I emailed him pretty excited. And I said, all right, hey, bought my ticket. And Reed, I kid you not, he sent me a list of instructions. He was like, if you're going to, I'm not joking at all, Andrew. He said, Reed sent me a list of instructions. He was like, all right, good, you're coming to Pamplona. You need to read him. And he sent me specific books, specific documentaries to watch. And he said, you will watch all of this before you come to Pamplona. You'll read all of this before you come to Pamplona. I was like, damn it. I thought I bought a plane ticket for vacation.
Thanks for the homework.
And now it's a commitment with homework.
Right.
I was like, yeah. And I was like, read. And you know what? I did so. And I read all the books. I watched all the documentaries. I was like, well, I'm going to run. Damn right I'm going to run.
Right, dude.
At the time, so I contacted Reed, and I was like, Reed, did you run with the Bulls? I'm going to this summer. Did you do so? And he's like, no, I'm not crazy.
Oh.
I'm not going to run with. He said so. And I was like, well, I guess I won't run either. Like, Reed didn't run. It's not that big a thing. You know, Joe runs, and that's it.
But eventually you did decide to run, though.
Eventually, yeah. I ran on the 5th and 7th day.
And so what triggered that switch in your head, man? Did you just said go for it, or what? What happened?
I told Reed, I was like, Reed, I'm not leaving Spain without running. And he was like, Bobby, think about it. This is the entire summer and potentially the fall. It's a big risk, and you know it's a big risk. I was like, I know it is, which is why I'm going to do it, because I know the risk. And then, and believe it or not, the very first day that I ran with the Bulls, I woke up at 7 a.m. to go run with the Bulls. And of course, 8 a.m. is when the rockets go off. And Reed was asleep, so I was like, all right. And I put the Pampleo, is that the proper pronunciation?
Pañuelo, the little hanky.
Pañuelo. Yeah. And I put that on. I was told tie it like a necktie so that if it gets hooked by a horn, it comes off. You know, so
great advice.
I was
man.
told
That's
that.
Fantastic.
That was great advice. So I put it like that, and I tucked the Spanish pronunciation. I'm failing on it. The pañuelo.
Yeah, that's good. With a P, pañuelo.
Pañuelo.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you. And so I put that in my pocket, and I was like, all right, I'm good to go. And I stood in that street at 7 a.m., and boy, was I nervous until 8 a.m. And that was my first time running.
Well,
and then
before you went down that morning, so you were staying with Tom. You, Reed, both of you guys were staying with Tom, right?
At that time, I wasn't.
Okay. I mean,
due to just, you know, comfort differences, we went elsewhere.
Gotcha. I guess I'm just curious about when he finally found out that you wanted to run. Did he try to talk you out of it?
I told him from the day I arrived. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna run with Bulls." He said, "If you're living under my roof now." I was like, "Well, damn it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm living under his roof for the rest of the week, and that's when the Bulls run." Well, this is a shame. And then, you know, due to comfort, we went elsewhere. And then I was like, and I told Reed, because Reed had hyped up for months. And I kid you not, months, potentially years. He said, like, yeah, I'm going to run with the Bulls. He told Alexander Fisk Harrison on Instagram. He said, yeah, I'm going to run with the Bulls. And I love Reed to death, but to this day he hasn't run yet. And look, I make fun of him. I make fun of him.
And look, like, to those listening, if it sounds like we're beating up on people who don't run, that is totally not what's going on here at all. Like, I don't care if you decide to run, if you don't decide to run. I don't care.
Pamplona is about a lot more.
There's so much more, dude, to that fiesta, the culture, the people, than running in those streets, man. You know.
And Reed put it to me well, and I mean, as a non-bull runner, who's going to put it best? But Reed said, Bobby, how long was the bull run? I said, 3 minutes. And he goes, cool, 23 hours and 57 minutes. That's why I come to Spain. You came to Spain to run for 3 minutes. Neat.
Dude,
I was like, all right.
So there you go, right? That's proof is in the pudding, right? There's so much commiserating.
There's a lot more. Now those 3 minutes meant a lot to me. Those 3 minutes, I was like, oh, you know what? Even though I've only done it twice, I was like, yeah, I get it. I understand.
So when you went down that first morning, I think you started running on the 5th day. What was that like? Did you go with someone else or another crew, or were you just by yourself?
So initially by myself, but it was Jose Antonio, and you know him.
Love that guy.
Do you need to do an introduction, or I imagine he's well known?
Oh, he's so Jose Antonio, dude.
On your specific podcast.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'll give him a shout out for sure, dude. This guy is a local Navarran in English. I don't know if you could say that right. He's from that Navarra region out there in Spain. He's been running since like the age 14. Again,
I think so. Yeah.
14. And he's like 55, 56. So he's been running for like
something like
40 years. Dude, this guy is compassionate and as humble as they come, dude. And again, for me, first time running this year, the way that he really broke down the recorrido or the route and explained, where you should be and where you shouldn't be.
Ander, how is it pronounced? I said encierro.
Yeah, you said
is
it right.
Is it acarrillo?
So like...
how is it pronounced?
So encierro is like enclosure. When they set up the barriers, that's the word they use for the enclosure. But recorrido is really just another name for the route, like the actual route.
Okay, all right, I got you.
Yeah, we're talking about the same thing. So basically, he broke all this stuff down and was like, look.
He did the exact same for me.
Dude, I mean, just a genuinely humble and just down-to-earth soul, dude. I mean, this guy was just awesome. And after the whole running the bulls, after we were all done and finished with it, he'd hang out for the whole rest of the day, dude. And
yes. And you know what, Ander, and I apologize if I'm intruding, but you know what I really loved about Pamplona was that true celebrities, Dennis, Peter, Bill, Joe,
right.
They sat down with you as if they weren't famous. They would say, all right, man, it's your first time? Awesome, let's talk. Or even if you've never run before, they would say, let's talk. Pamplona is a place where people that are amazing at their skill are willing to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
It's celebrity, but in terms of etymology, nothing of the sort.
Yeah.
They're celebrated, but they're talking to everybody. I mean, how did I get to talk to Joe Disler? I said, "Hey, Dr. Disler, I've met you before. I've read things about you." And he said, "All right, let's go have a drink." And he literally stopped everything he was doing and he pulled me aside. Jose Antonio, and you didn't mention this in your little brief, but a completely deaf bull runner.
Yeah.
I had no clue. I'd read about him, but it was like, how do I contact him? And Reed walked up and he said, for all intents and purposes, he tapped me on and he showed the emphasis of running and then put his arm forward to show tomorrow. And then he showed the date on his phone to say Bobby's going to run tomorrow.
Wow.
And Jose, and that was that. And Jose stood up and he said, all right. And I kid you not, my very first bull run in Pamplona, Jose saw me in the street because it's cornered off from the very I'm blanking on the term from the bull pit to right before town square. What's it called?
So you have a Telefonica and then the Callejon?
Telefonica.
Yeah.
And you know how everybody's locked there before it opens up to the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And Jose Antonio, I kid you not, he saw me there and I was hanging out with Peter Milligan, and I was just telling him how much I appreciated his book. I was with Ari, and I was like, hey, truly, this is my first time running, but thank you. And Jose, without hearing, obviously, any of that, Jose took me, and he walked me along. I told myself I was going to run estafeta.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was going to run. Like, from the day I read any book, I was like, all right, estafeta is what I'm going to run. And Jose placed me right before the, and please correct me on the term, right before the hill becomes town square, right before La Cuerva.
Santo Domingo?
Exactly. So right before that, and he put me in a doorway, and he placed his hands on my chest, and he waved his hands as if no, and he walked away. But I was like, I'm probably miscommunicating. So I followed him, and he walked me back to that specific place.
Dude,
I kid you not.
Gotta
He walked
love
me back
Jose
like,
Antonio,
you
man.
idiot. Exactly. He was like, you idiot, you idiot.
No.
And he pushed me off.
Yeah.
I was like, Jose, no. I was told this is not good. Before La Cuerva? No. Is that the proper pronunciation?
Yeah.
La Cuerva, or is it El Cuerva?
No, you're good. La Curva. Yeah, Dead Man's Corner. Or Hamburger Wall, whatever you call it, yeah.
I was told that was derogatory.
No, dude.
I wasn't sure if it was L or La.
It's dude, here's a Jose Antonio story. So something similar happened to me this year. I think it was like day 7. It was a day after the Victoriano del Rio bulls had come out. And on day 6, like, I had messed up my hand. Little did I...
Did you?
Yeah, dude. Little did I know. When I came back...
I saw you on day 7. You were fine.
Well, I mean, I was out there. I mean, yeah, fine, dude. I for all intents and purposes...
You were wearing that white blazer.
I was rocking that white blazer, dude. I felt like a G. Dude, if I had a collar that day, it was popped, bro. That's how I felt.
I bought you a drink at Bar Choco. I remember that day.
Dude, if I had a collar that day, you bet your ass that shit was popped. Dude, Jose Antonio. So on day 6, I got slammed into a wall, like, just before the bulls were coming up.
Holy shit, you really did.
I dipped off to the right, dude, and this guy behind me pushed me even quicker into, like, this steel cage type of wall structure, and I couldn't move my hand in time, and so I just got, like, this severe contusion on my hand.
Where is this?
So I was running just after the curve. So I was is it the lower half of
So you were
Estafeta?
on Estafeta?
Yeah, just the lower half of Estafeta.
Yeah.
So I'm running, dude, and I'm running the center of the street, and I look behind me, and they're right there, bro. They're right there.
No way.
And
is this Wednesday? Is this Thursday? What day is this?
I think this is like a Thursday or Friday, or it might have been like Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. And I look behind me, bro, and in that instant, I'm like, dude, I got to get the fuck out of the way. So I dip off to the right, and the guy who's behind me shoves me even quicker into like this steel wall type structure. And, like a lot of those businesses along that street will shut down and roll down the steel just to protect the front entrance of their shop. And so I ran into that, and I couldn't move my arm in time. And so my hand was in between my body and this steel structure, and I just...
Holy shit.
Slammed the joint of my thumb into...
Your right arm?
Yeah, my right arm.
And the bowl was right on your left.
Well, it was, basically like behind me. I guess I looked to my left and the bowl was behind me. And I dipped off to the right, and that's when the guy slammed me into the wall. So I ended up with like this...
The guy being the bowl.
Oh, no, the guy. Like there was another guy behind me trying to get out of the way too. And just shoves me into the wall. And basically what happened, I didn't know for sure until I got back to the U.S. because I went in to see a doctor. But, dude, I have like traumatic arthritis in the joint of my thumb.
Wow.
Yeah, just stupid. But dude, for all intents and purposes, man, come on, man. Like, that's nothing compared to being gored or like
the encierro,
getting a broken bone or, dude, that is nothing. So day 7, I have my hand bandaged up and I'm ready to go.
I remember I ran day 7. I remember seeing you bandaged up And I was like, should he be running? Should Ander be running?
Dude, I was like, you know what? I had heard the stories of Bill Hillman being gored and running the next day. I'd heard the stories of
It's unbelievable.
Disler doing that. I had heard so many stories. I was like, dude, you know what? If I feel physically fit, and I was, like, it was just my hand. If I feel like I won't be endangering any other runners or myself during the run, I'm going to run. And so I'm preparing to run, bro. Again, just after the curve, lower half of Estafeta, and Jose Antonio, right, rocking his bandana, his pirate bandana like he always does. He walks up to me, and he's super serious. And he's like, you can't be where you are. Like, you have to move. And he just kept trying to, like, push that message through over and over and over. I was like, I know, I get it, I'll be fine. He wasn't having any part of that, dude, at all. And so eventually he basically slapped me to get me to, like, really listen, and was like, get your ass up the street.
Yep.
And I looked at him, he looked at me, and I was like, you know what, dude, I'm going up the street. So I left, like, that spot near the curve, walked up the street, and dude, that guy saved more lives than
anyone. Yeah.
Long
so I haven't run the curve yet, but I truly think where Jose put me. So I wanted to run after the curve, after La Curva. Is that proper?
Yeah.
La Curva. I wanted to run there, and Jose said no. The next day I said, all right, I'm going to run where I fell, and because of Jose, I have run from the beginning, and then I fell immediately, or not immediately, but all 10 steps. And not to say I'm at all a bull runner. I don't claim myself to be a bull runner, but yeah, Jose made sure I was right there. And I wish I had better terminology. I mean, I've read a lot of the books, but yeah. So I ran, and I went up the hill initially from where the bulls are let out, and I fell maybe 15 feet, and I kid you not, I was hanging onto the wall. I had my hand on I guess you'd call it a guard where the rain comes out, where in a traditional city, the rain comes down on a building and it goes down immediately. And right. I put my hand right there, and I put my foot about 3 feet up, and I was like, all right, you don't move until, and I tried to follow Jose because he was going past the curve, and I tried to follow him. And then Jose was like, no. And I at first I was like, no, Jose doesn't actually want me here. This is a bad place to run. So I followed Jose, and then he walked back. And then, of course, this is 7:30, so it's safe. But to my undaunted eyes, I was like, I'm miscommunicating. Jose wants me beyond. So I moved, and then he grabbed me by the shirt, and he put me at the beginning, and I was like, well, what the hell, Jose? Like, Jose, I'm supposed to be beyond. And then he put me right there at the beginning of most people. And I was like, Jose, uphill. I've read the books. I know they're faster uphill. I'm not supposed to be here. And he put his left hand forward with like palms out, and he said, stay. And I was like, all right, if Jose says so, I'm going to stay. And so I stood right there, and I kid you not, people ran by me frantically, but I was like, Jose wants me to run in front of these bulls. And the moment I saw horns, and I'll be honest, it was the horns of steers, but I was like, yep, time to go.
Dude,
Jose probably would have.
Dude, those steer horns are ridiculous.
They are
enormous, man.
They are, and I was an idiot. I was like, all right, there they come. I saw one pass me, and I literally I held onto that guardrail, and I had to do this, and thank God my right leg was thankful. I kicked off of the street so that I was, and I kicked, like when I say I kicked off, like due to the projection I put myself, I was in the middle of the street.
Mm-hmm.
And holy shit, when I was in the middle of the street and the steer had passed, I was like, all right, time to go.
Yeah.
And that's all. So I ran. I got maybe 5 feet. And I immediately collapsed and I rolled under the fence. I told Reed this.
Though, man. Like, dude, it's such an unnatural reaction to fall to the ground and not try to get back up. The fact that you rolled over underneath the barrier, dude, that's what they say you should do.
Exactly. And I was lucky enough that Reed, although he's never run, but one day he will. I'm forcing him to. But yeah, Reed was, even though he hasn't run, he told me, like, Bobby, if you do run, the moment you fall, you stay down. And you know what? I did fall. I didn't fall, and I'll be totally honest. I didn't fall because of the bowls. I fell because speed and people. I fell. I'm not sure if it was apathy. I'm not sure if it was human connection, but I fell. You've run with bowls. Like, it's a complete mental mess. You don't. At least I didn't. And correct me if I'm wrong. You.
No, I think
I was getting another call, which is why I said, like, I'm not sure if he still hears me.
No, you're good. I would say, dude, and I think this is what you're going to talk about, is you can have in your head your game plan, just like if you were preparing for a football game or soccer game. You go through the mental sort of kind of calculation and sort of envisioning what might happen and what you're going to do. You have your plan, and dude, you have to. It goes to hell. It goes to hell, and you have to be able to adapt, dude. Situational awareness. Not even after the rocket fires at 8 a.m. Even before that, if it's 5 or 10 minutes before 8 a.m. and you see that if you're gonna run, let's say the lower half of Estafeta, and it's just jam packed with people, and you look up the hill and you see that maybe like half a block down, it's a little less crowded, and maybe gives you a little bit more of a safer chance to run, or maybe just a better shot at being in front of the bull, dude, like, you move up the street and you got to be able to adjust in real time, dude. And it's, do you feel that way?
I mean, when you say you, I feel like you're talking to me as a bull runner. I'm not a bull runner. I'm a guy that has run with bulls. I'm not a bull runner.
Oh,
I want unbelievably to make that true. I'm not a bull runner. I'm not.
Oh, that is good. Well, I'm on this podcast, you're a bull runner, bro.
But I'm not a bull runner. In all reality, I'm not a bull runner. I'm a guy that has run with bulls, and that's that. And I hope one day to live in the image you have. I hope to live like Joe Disler has. I hope to live like, my dream is to live like Jose Antonio has.
Oh, dude.
And literally, that's a guy that has never, not only been willing, but also unable. But I truly think even if he was able, this is a guy that is unwilling to speak about what it is. And it's fantastic. And I've written about it in my essays in class and the like. But truly, I'm not a bull runner.
But here's the thing, man, is, look, I think I've talked about it a little bit, maybe on a different podcast, but or a different episode. There are usually two types of people, in my opinion, right? I'll preface it with my opinion.
I got you. I got you.
There are two different types of people. The people who go to Pamplona to run with the bulls and mark it off the bucket list, and people who go to run with the bulls to get better every year and to be a part of it, to be a part of the experience. right? And I don't see you as the bucket list guy, because I've asked you.
I don't either.
And dude, you love so much more about the fiesta than just risking your life for a moment. You love the party. You love the people. You love the camaraderie. You love the conversation, and you want to be a better runner. And I think at one point you mentioned you might even want to go to some of the other cities where they do the runnings that are a little less crowded, right?
I've never done so. So let me preface by saying I've never done one of those, but I would love to have the opportunity.
Dude, and that's why I say, man, dude, in my opinion, it's a process, dude. Being a bull runner is a process. It's a craft. It's a dedication to being better and better.
So perhaps I'm an aspiring bull runner, but I wouldn't say that I'm currently I'm a bull runner. I'm an aspiring. I would love, and present me with the opportunity, and I will. And Reed, my brother, he said, and I know I've referenced him a lot, but he is, after all, the reason I came to Pamplona. So I think it's worthy of reference.
Reed's a cool cat, man. He was awesome, dude. And that's why I say, like, dude, just meeting you, Reed, Tom, like, and just being with you guys for
and Reed's never run. Can you believe that?
Unreal.
Reed has never run. And I truly, again, maybe this is the George Gowan connection. Reed didn't mention to me that he didn't run, so I figured, oh yeah, he's run. And it wasn't until like later on when I bought my ticket and everything, and Reed was like, and I told Reed, like, hey man, I'm gonna run this summer. He's like, yeah, I didn't run. And I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't run. If Reed's my big brother, I was like, well, if Reed didn't run, maybe I shouldn't run. And that's that. And I mean, I love Reed. He's my big brother, but literally after I ran, he like kind of looked at me and he introduced me to a lot of great runners. But especially after I ran, he like pulled me aside and he was like, hey, he ran today. And we went to San Sebastian that day. Mm-hmm. And there were people that were there that had no business with Pamplona, but we went to San Sebastian. We took the train. We were like, you know what, we're in Europe. We're gonna go see Europe. And there were other people from there. And before I had to say it, he like, oh, you're in Pamplona? Yeah, Bobby, my little brother, ran this morning. And so, all right, I don't know what the influence of this podcast is, but holy moly, do I hope that it influences Reed to run.
Reed, if you're listening, dude, we're gonna get you to run, bro. We're gonna make it happen.
Ander, I think that's on you.
But like he's a service member of this country, dude, and I guarantee you, and
exactly,
just like you believe, it's not for lack of courage. That is for sure. That's for sure. But we're getting him to run.
What are you going to do at that moment? At that specific moment?
Right.
And there's an odd amount of United States military that joins in that very street at 8 a.m. and they wait for that rocket to go off.
Dude, so your Uncle Tom.
There's an odd amount. Why doesn't he belong there?
Well, so your Uncle Tom, Vietnam veteran, airborne.
He is.
I mean, that's yet another connection, right, to the military, to armed services. Incredible.
But it's and of course, and I don't want to undercredit that. 100%, he is a connection, but it's not unfounded. There are so many United States military veterans that run in Pamplona, and that's something Reed didn't prepare me for. Like I walked into Pamplona, I was like, Reed, Tom, and I are unique. We weren't at all.
But at the same time, like just the same sense I got from you, I didn't feel like you broadcasted the fact that you were a National Guardsman. So I don't know if, like, again, it's that integrity, bro. I don't think anybody goes out there trying to boast like that. You know what I mean?
I suppose. Yeah. I mean, I suppose.
So what's next, dude? What's next for Bobby George? So, dude, we didn't touch on this, and I feel like we need to, man. Over the past summer, after you got back from Pamplona, you interned for Senator Pat Toomey out of Pennsylvania, but you interned in D.C. What was that like, man? And are you looking to kind of springboard into politics after you graduate from college? What's on the horizon for you, man?
All right, so yeah, I'm a current senior, and yeah, I spend my summer with Pat Toomey, and he's a current United States senator. That's on the springboard. I would love to work in DC. Unfortunately, I don't have a committed job right now, but I am looking to be in DC. Alec, which is the vice president, is a Hampden-Sydney guy. So I connected with him over the summer, and we spoke a lot. And I've been talking to him. I've been talking to Senator Toomey's office, but also while I'm still in the military, because I have a 3-year commitment after this, it's been like, all right, so I should hang out with the military. And the military is a beautiful job, but also one that takes a lot of time. So I've thought about
whether you're in the Guard or the Reserves, you're basically committing to do, like, what is it, like a weekend a month? Is it something like that?
Yeah. So as a National Guardsman, my minimal commitment is 1 week a month, 2 weekends during the summer, which isn't that much, but nonetheless, it takes a lot of time if you want to start a career, if you want to end a career, or whatever. So I've been looking at teaching a lot, and I've always looked at teaching, but for the short term, it especially appeals to me. And Hampden-Sydney College, they have a few positions open, which I've spoken to them about. So I may work at the college, I may work at other colleges, but I've also spoken to a few high schools and the like. And I would love to work at high schools in the short future. Long term, when I'm out of the military, I'd like to go to law school. Law school is my major idea. And after law school, I think international law would be my go-to. But right now, to be truthful, Andra, it's still a little undecided.
I honestly, I had a conversation with someone a couple days ago about this. It's like most people, when they graduate high school and they enter college, they don't even know what their major is going to be, right? And once you're like a sophomore, junior, getting closer to senior, you really kind of establish what you're specializing in. So it doesn't surprise me at all, man, that you still have a few questions and trying to figure out what you're trying to do.
I mean, I'm a tour guide, so maybe the tour guide aspect of me will overtake, but I think the liberal arts are beautiful for that, because I think the liberal arts allow for that intellectual curiosity. Hampden-Sydney College, it's an all-boys little school. It allows for that intellectual curiosity. And I hate to say that I'm not a good example of it, but right now I not I wish I studied Basque.
Well, so let me ask you, dude. So, I mean,
ask me.
Interning for a senator, dealing with constituents over email, by phone, keeping in touch with the actual voting base. Well, I guess what stood out from that internship, whether it be the way the U.S. Senate works, or maybe how to deal with people such as your average voter. What did you kind of take away from that experience, dude?
Yeah, so honestly, I worked there my entire summer, and I actually took a break from it to go to Pamplona, which is odd enough. And I told the guys, I was like, listen, this is awesome. I'm going to Pamplona. And I went away for a week, and I came back. So, yeah, the Senate was awesome, and I hope to be there full time. But so my senator, the senator for whom I worked and also for whom I support, he was a part of the healthcare committee. In fact, this was during Pamplona. Here, wait one moment.
Yeah.
All right, no one's here. But yeah, he was a part of the.
That's awesome.
All right.
That is awesome. Go ahead.
All right. He was a part of the healthcare committee, which was of 13 guys. And the big thing was, all right, well, what are we going to do 13, not to make your show race related, but the voters did. We have 13 old white guys.
Yeah.
And they're making the healthcare decision. That's not fair. And so I had to deal with every single call, every single email of like,
what was the
hey,
what was the worst that you saw? The worst call or email? What was the worst?
I mean, I saw a lot of bad things. I suppose the very worst, and I don't want to disclose what I'm not allowed, but yeah, we literally, and I suppose this would be the worst, but also I think it's, in an odd way, I'd say it's the best, because I think this is an American institution, an American right. Protests in our office, they would walk right into our office. Yeah, let's go Tigers. There we go. Some girl shouted that. But literally, we would have protests where they would walk in and yell about their healthcare rights. Granted, as an American institution, we would have to sit there and type on our computers complaints and type proper responses, and then the senator approves all of them. But nonetheless, we had to sit there as people walked into our office, and they're like, no, we disagree. We're constituents. We're people that you're affecting, yada, 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 yada. So I think that was the hardest thing for me, was to see people that see faces to people that disagreed. And they would yell their disagreements. They would, and while we sat at our desks and typed responses, they would jump in our faces and they'd say, yeah, you know what the healthcare bill, if it's reaffirmed, do you know what it's going to do to me? And they would yell. And you have to understand there's a break between what I do and my job and your rights as this is. And that being said, allow me to clarify.
Sure.
100% they deserve that right to come bother me. And if I get that job officially, I hope they bother me. That's the constitutional right. Bother every single person that's in public officiality.
But at the same time, when they come up to you, they get in your grill, they get in your face, things can escalate pretty quick, dude. And it's like, who's to say they're not going to be physical? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that happens. It didn't happen to me. It never happened to me. But there's Capitol Hill police to make sure of such things. And outside of physicality, which never happened, I want to clarify. A lot of people disagreed with me. They never touched me physically. Nobody ever punched me. Nobody ever grabbed me. It was, oddly enough, and I hate to say it, in Pamplona was the first ever time. And of course, I was in D.C. this whole time. And then I went to Pamplona. And it was my cousin. I love my cousin to death. But it was the first time I ever saw physical confrontation of politics. And somebody had a Make America Great Again hat. And he said, and I won't name him, but he said, oh, let's go grab him. And I said, well, why are we going to grab him? That's his view. Maybe let's go confront him. Let's go ask him why. But that's that.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, we're going to grab him.
Do I know this guy?
Perhaps.
Okay. Yeah, we can leave it at that.
Maybe for a later conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first time in Pamplona that I ever saw that, hey, we're going to be physical. Because what I loved about DC and what I loved about Pamplona was you could disagree, and people disagreed heavily. But there was an understanding of, let's be mutually disagreed.
Right.
And hell, my first, it wasn't even my first day. My first 18 hours in Pamplona, I didn't speak a lick of Spanish, as you know. And I sat down in Pamplona in a private bar right by the, oh my goodness, I wish I'd studied it more for this podcast, but not by the by the church. If you walk past Estafeta up, and there's a big hill.
Yeah.
Past the hill to the right, and there's a chaplain.
Huh. I feel like I know what you're talking about. I just can't put a name to it.
All right, cool. Oh, good. You're making me not feel so bad. But there was also it's not a bar, but a little private escape that I was introduced to on my very first day, before my first day. In fact, it was less than 24 hours. It was 18. And I sat down, and they treated me like family. I kid you not, like true family. They said, all right, here's this food, here's this food, here's this food, here's this dessert. And I said, wow, isn't this fantastic? And even though, and I was the only guy that didn't speak Spanish. In fact, only one person spoke English there. And I felt rude as hell. But there was only one person that didn't speak English, or did speak English. And they were like, all right, hey, we're gonna help you talk. And I tried to use my broken Spanish. I was like, bien, and that was it.
You're like, bien.
I studied French and Latin. Hey, one moment. I'm sorry. I'm on a podcast with the good old Ander. Sorry, that's my fraternity brothers.
No, you're good. You're good. The fraternity brothers, dude. You're rolling with.
Do you want to talk to one of them,
dude? Let's put them on, dude.
Here, this was my pledge. Hey. This is a podcast interview. They want to talk to a pledge about.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, dude? So you're part of the fraternity of Bobby George.
Yeah, Bobby's a great guy, man.
That's awesome, dude. Hey, what's the number one thing you like about Bobby?
His leadership skills.
All right, what's the number one thing you don't like about Bobby? Honest.
How serious he can get.
Honest man, I like it.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Is that it? Is that all you need from me?
That's all we need, dude. You settled the debate.
All right, awesome, bro.
Thank you.
All right.
Was he well behaved?
He was well behaved.
Was he well behaved?
He was well behaved. I think.
Good. When I was his pledge trainer, I ensured of that.
That is awesome. Dude, I gotta ask you, man. So basically what we were just talking about was, the violent confrontations, basically checking your political views out the door when you get to Pamplona. The one question I gotta ask you, dude, and you know what, I just don't understand the difference, bro, is when you're part of the US National Guard, or you're part of the Army, or you're part of the Marines, or Air Force, or whatever branch it is basic training pretty similar from branch to branch? And I guess, what was your training like?
All right. Well, it's tough for me to answer what is branch to branch, because I only experienced one branch.
Well, dude,
so it's hard to tell me.
I go on YouTube and I watch BUD/S training for SEALs, and it looks horrendous, dude. But that's all I know.
I mean, dude, there. If you go on YouTube and you watch that, yeah, way worse than what I had.
Okay, good.
But it's hard. It's way worse. But all I've experienced is Army. To tell you, like, oh yeah, Air Force is worse, or Marines are worse. Here's what I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I went through a lot of shit, but I was happy. It happened, and now guys come to my school. They come to my fraternity and they say, "Hey, I was through this," and I make fun of them. I say like, "Oh, you pussy, you queer, whatever," and they laugh it off, and I laugh it off if people make fun of me
in a loving way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. As that. All right, we're brothers of the military.
Exactly.
Collectively.
Exactly.
And as every good alumnus of the program, and I say the same thing. And I'm not gonna lie, Ander. It was tough as hell when I went through. But I'm sure 5 years later, or 5 years earlier, they would have said the same thing. And now I'll probably look 5 years later and say like, yeah, that was nothing. No, these things happen with time. They change.
Well, I mean, so I did a little Googling around, like, and I stress little, but it said, like, at least in the National Guard, like, there were 3 different phases, like the red phase, the white phase, and blue phase of basic, right?
Yeah,
Dude.
well, that's actually throughout the entire military, but yeah.
So
I hear ya.
the first week to week 3 was red phase, or also called soldierization, and I was like, what the hell does that mean, soldierization? Like, what did
That's
you
the thing. Yep. All right. So in terms of basic, yeah. So soldierization, is that what you called it?
Yeah.
All right. Fun fact. My specific group, we didn't leave red phase until we were done. And that's what my drill sergeant told us. One moment. But yeah, he told us, it was 4 of them, but nonetheless, they collectively said, all right. And you know, every other unit in my battalion said they went about face, which is 180 degrees. About face, another 180 degrees, so now 360. And they said, welcome to white phase, red, white, and blue. So they did the same thing for us, and we were like, all right, cool, we're going to be welcomed. You know, we did 180 degrees, and then our drill sergeant said, welcome to red phase. And we're like, well, damn it, we're not allowed in. And what red phase meant then, and I don't, perhaps it still means it then now, but and like, I want to preface, every single alumnus says this, of like, yeah, it was harder when I was in, but it was harder when I was in. And I'm sure every guy you talked to before will say the exact same thing. If you talk to a guy younger than me, I'll say the same thing. But yeah, so they said about face, and got hazed for about 20 weeks more.
Damn, dude. I mean, so were you physically fit before you started, or did you get physically fit during that training?
Oh. All right. So before that was basic combat training, where we took PT tests, we shot marksman, and we did everything we needed to do as soldiers beforehand. AIT was when we became infantrymen, so it was a step above. And they made sure, I mean, we were already prepared, because, and as much as I want to say like, oh, they were awful, yada, 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 I fell under good leaders, and they were fantastic, and I'll never be under them again, optionally. But, you know, I personally, they were good leaders. They truly were. And that was that, and they made sure that I was a good soldier, and I'm really proud of who I had. But yeah, they essentially made me a soldier, and then after that they made me an infantryman. So after they made sure, all right, this guy can run 2 miles in the right amount of time, he knows how weapons operate, yada yada yada. They made sure that basic check mark. They said, all right, now let's test them for infantrymen, which was just the next step.
So let me ask you this. As a service member, have you heard about the JFK files that they've been talking about last couple days? I don't know if you heard about that.
Not the last couple days.
So basically, in July, they released some documents related to the assassination of JFK, but like just...
In the last few days?
No, I think it was like back in July, but...
I haven't heard about those.
But I think like yesterday and this morning, I was reading about how back in 1992, Congress had basically mandated that all classified documents related to the JFK assassination had to be released 25 years after that, which here we are.
I've heard that.
2017, right? 25 years later. The only stipulation they made at the time was, unless the President of the United States thought it was a risk to law enforcement, military intelligence, foreign relations. So apparently they have until like October 26th. So like literally in just a few days.
The next 5 days. Yeah.
So I'm curious, as a service member, releasing something from back in 1963, do you have like a personal take, and maybe how was that shaped by being in the service yourself? You know what I mean?
All right. Well, personally, I have a big interest, personally.
Let's be honest, dude. Secret clearance, Cutter. I mean, foreign affairs major, right?
Cutter's nothing. Foreign affairs is nothing. Personally, I've always had an interest in that. And of course, you read what is allowed to you. It's all blacked out. It really is. Wow, I did not hear about that. I knew that one day it would be released. I didn't know this early.
Dude, so let me give you perspective, dude.
Yeah, give me perspective.
So they're talking 3,000 documents that have never been released to the public, right? On top of that, 30,000 previously released documents that had redactions. That's a lot of information.
Yeah, I know. A lot of it was redacted. Wow.
Yeah. So this is like here in the next few days.
Literally, all I can say is wow. I mean, I wish I could say more, but that's very interesting. I mean, I hang out at a small school. I was lucky enough to run with the Bulls twice. Like it's nothing. I don't view myself as an expert, but I do view myself as somebody interested, and that is all I can say by its definition is wow.
Do you feel like maybe releasing documents, even if they're dated back like 50, 54 or 53 years, does that pose a risk to people, you think? Is it what do you think? Without knowing the contents, obviously, right? It's tough, but
all right. So my true belief is I think government is a good thing, and I don't think every citizen should be allowed to know things. All right. This is on the record, I suppose. We're on the podcast.
Personal opinions of Bobby George.
Yeah, well, Bobby George plans to run for office.
Ooh, so, you heard it here first, dude. Hey, we'll be digging this up.
Exactly. And on that ground, I'll remain silent and for now.
Well, dude, I'll make this a nice, easy softball, dude. This will be kind of interesting to talk about. We'll wrap up with this question. How about that, dude?
All right,
dude. Check this out. So
I may remain silent. Yeah. I hate to disappoint you, but I can tell by the context I may remain silent.
Check this out, though. Running of the Bulls 2017, right? Pamplona.
I did. Yep.
Here are some statistics. So the average, basically the average time it took the Bulls to start the course and end the course over those 8 days
was 3 minutes 20 seconds.
It's close. It was like 2:51.
Okay.
So there were also 12 gorings and 52 people hospitalized who received treatment.
This past year?
This past year, bro.
Really?
So dude, think about that, right? It's the risk that we take every time we step into those narrow cobblestone streets, dude. Think about
Absolutely.
Dude, 12 gorings. And this is reported data. So it could be higher. So this is like minimum.
This is recorded.
Yeah. So I mean, it's when people say like, where's the safest place or the best place to stand when you're in the route, like, you know, to not be hurt.
There's no safe place.
There is no safe place, dude. Literally anything can happen to you.
Those bulls decide what is safe.
Dude, it's incredible. The Spanish fighting bull is no joke, but
what's the term? Los tolos. No, I know that's the bulls, but
the bravos.
Not tienos. Bravos. Los tolos, sir. Bravos. They decide.
Dude, so here's the favor I'll ask of you before we wrap up. Here's the favor, right? When you're running, right? When you're running for president, dude, you're gonna come back on the podcast. We're gonna give you some airtime, and and we're gonna shoot the shit about how we forecasted your eventual victory in office. Cool?
You're kind, but if ever I'm at that position, absolutely I'll come back.
There we go, dude. Hey, Bobby George.
But you're kind. I don't think I'll be at that position, but you're kind to think so.
Dude, I appreciate your time, man. I know I ripped you away from a tailgate. I ripped you away from your family,
dude.
Appreciate the time, man.
Talking to Onder is way better than what I would have been doing.
Well, dude, listen, Bobby, I'll just be real, man. It's like, it was an absolute pleasure to fucking meet you this past summer, man. Like, you, Reed, Tom are are my family, dude. It was just such a pleasure to actually hang with you guys and get to know you.
And that's what Pamplona is. And I read this, and you've experienced it. It's a true family.
Absolutely, dude. I appreciate your time, man, and let's get you back on here soon, dude. All right.
Absolutely,
dude.
Absolutely.
So
Whenever you need me.